Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting us here from Nederman to present for you today. Like you introduced me, I'm an Englishman. I've been here at Nederman 11 years now, 6 years as Group CFO, so hopefully I'm able to give you a good picture of who we are, what we do, and an understanding of our strategy at Nederman. We are, as you can see, the Clean Air Company. What do we do? We're an environmental technology company. We work with industrial air filtration. This is an important part of understanding what Nederman do. We work with cleaning air in industrial processes. I'll explain a bit more what that means in depth afterwards, but we've worked an awful lot with digitalization of our filters. We work in a very fragmented market. We only turn over roughly 5 billion Swedish krona, but we see ourselves in the market, as we define it, as the largest player globally. We meet a lot of local, national, or maybe regional competitors at most. We have a lot more ability to invest, a lot more funds to invest in development of, and we've seen that this has helped us with the digitalization part of our business. What this means for us, in short, is we're able to attack the aftermarket in a better way than others, and this is, as in many other businesses, one of the most profitable parts of what we do. 3 values guiding us: sustainable customer focus, respect for the environment and each other, and also courage to act. Courage to act sometimes can also mean courage not to act, say no to maybe less profitable business, focus on what it is that we're really making money on and what we see as strategically important. Why are we doing what we do, and how do we help the world? Air pollution is the 4th biggest killer in the world, behind diet-related problems, cancer, and tobacco. And in terms of industry, it really doesn't need to be that. There is no reason for industries to be polluting the air. We work more towards environment than climate, you could say. Our solutions and our filters typically use less energy than the competition. We're at the high end of the market, and that's positive from a climate perspective. But the main thing we are doing is helping clean the air in the local environment, and that can be in the production process or the health of the people that are producing, or even in the what's released out into the atmosphere as well. Why is this important? More and more evidence is becoming being released all the time. More investigations are coming along. The World Health Organization last year released a report which we thought was as positive in what they were saying. Not necessarily a good thing, but there's a clear link between, for example, poor air and Alzheimer's, other dementia diseases. These sort of things there's clear empirical evidence now that poor air damages fetus, it damages people's health, it causes significant problems, and it needs to be resolved. A little bit more about Nederman now. Who are we? Global company. We turn over roughly, if you looked at the first 3 quarterly reports of this year, you'll work out that we will turn over roughly 5 billion krona this year. We're in 30 countries with our own presence. We operate in around 50 if you count where our distributors are as well. We have manufacturing and assembly in 13 different countries. It sounds, on the face of it, that might not be great from an efficiency point of view. It's extremely important not to be transporting intercontinentally large filters. It's not economically viable. Filters that we produce are often very large, and they take a lot of volume on the boats, but they will also, it's also a lot easier to be closer to customers. So this has been a key part of our strategy, and this is an important thing that's helped us through this COVID period, as the transport problems have been, everyone knows about them, it's become worse and worse. Roughly 2,500 employees as of today. That includes those in the latest acquisition of RoboVent, which gave us a better position in welding in North America. What do we do? This slide is a rather ugly one, but it's quite an interesting one. It's an important part to understand our strategy, that we do every part of cleaning the air. Everything from extraction, capturing dirty air at the source, transporting it along piping, pushing it through a filter, lots of safety components in there, lots of measurements and optimization going on in these filter systems so they don't use too much energy. The energy utilization is extremely important. We then send clean air out on the other side, and using measurement technology, of which we have quite a lot of our own, you can demonstrate that the air going out is clean. In the vast majority of cases, we estimate over 90% of the cases, the air that comes out of our systems is cleaner than the ambient air that it is actually being released into. This is an important process in our strategy, that we have this whole system knowledge. Otherwise, the individual components here can become a bit of a commodity type of business, and that is not a nice place to be when it comes to profitability. We have grown and strengthened our market position, grown organically, also by acquisitions. From 2017 and onwards, we've grown on the digitalization front, acquired a lot more monitoring technology, these measurement technologies for gases and particles. But we've got a clear strategy to be number 1 or 2 in the markets in which we operate. We must be number 1 or 2 in order to be able to be strong enough on pricing. We also want to be able to take the aftermarket business that, as I mentioned before, is the most profitable part of what we have. We've got quite a strong development. Share price, earnings per share has continually gone upwards. You see in 2020 we had a blip, but you can see from the chart on the bottom left that was a blip, and we've recovered now. And again, anyone who's looked at our financial reports for the first 3 quarters of this year will see we're heading to an increase in earnings per share again this year. Have beaten the stock market quite nicely. The bottom chart here is share price. It's obviously down a little bit. This stops at the year end, but we've gone down roughly in line with the stock market this year, slightly better than that. Divide ourselves into 4 divisions, 2 of which work with the filter systems that we sell. Extraction and filtration technology sells slightly smaller systems, and these are configurable solutions. It's a lot more about efficiency. Nederman process technology, they're into big foundries, smelters, dirty industries, aluminium recycling plants, lead battery recycling plants, fiber and textile production as well. If you think production of yarn and threads, lots of systems that are into the process. They're integrated into the process technology, as the name would suggest. Duct and filter technology, the 3rd division you see here. That's a competence center, you could almost say. We want to have this knowledge regarding piping. Remember, I said we wanted the whole system knowledge. Piping and dimensioning of that can be critical in the setup of a system. If you get that wrong, you can have explosions, you can have big problems. We see that knowledge to be important to have in-house. This division also sources the filters, the bags and cassettes that are inside the filters that are sold by our other 2 divisions. Then monitoring and control technology, that's the newest part of our business. We have in that division instruments for measuring gases and particles, which we produce and we sell directly to end customers. We also use them in our systems as well, that we sell. And in that division, they are doing a lot of the digitalization of the process technology and extraction and filtration technology filters that they sell. The tablet that you see on the picture on the top right of this screen is an example of the app that is created, which is used to monitor, I believe it's a process technology filter system there. Digitalization, I've mentioned this several times, is key to attacking our aftermarket and gaining market share there. By being able to measure everything that's going on in the system, including the emissions, the gases, the particles at different stages in the filtration process, you can, for example, understand when a service is needed, when we need to change bags. We can save companies money by reducing downtime in their production, for example, by scheduling the services only as and when they're needed, rather than doing it every 3 months as a standard process. It's an extremely important part of the digitalization strategy, the offering that we have to the customers. We then have tools that we use in-house automatic quotation tools that result in production orders in our factories and such. Then we have the third part of our strategy on digitalization is the presence on the market, showing who we are, what we do, sharing information, and that side of it, the more traditional digitalization that most people do. We have a clear strategy that every single filter system we sell, stationary filter system that we sell by the end of next year, will be IoT ready, i.e. connectable to this app that we developed. It will mean that we have a much bigger potential to take aftermarket share. We've got examples of customers now that are signing 10-year service contracts with us. We give a 10-year guarantee. They sign up to our digital solution. They then agree to buy spare parts and allow us to do the service on their filters. Satisfactory and security for them and good margins for us. We'll move through a little quickly. I've got a slight eye on time. We have several sustainability targets, not least this digitalization of our filter systems. We've done very well on reducing our own energy consumption in the past few years. We will revise these targets next year. You see that these are for 2023. Sourcing is an important one for us. We have every single supplier to us signs our code of conduct. That is an absolute requirement. We've started getting sustainability rankings that are going up and up. This is an important part of when it comes to customers. More and more customers are aware of or interested in how sustainable their suppliers are. And as we know, this is just a growing part of the business. We're doing rather well here. We're not just a clean air company. We're a clean air company that is trying to improve constantly. 2 slides left, and the first one is one that I've stolen from a colleague here with pride, stolen from another Nederman colleague with pride. There are challenges: continued lockdowns, component availability, transport problems, energy costs, general cost inflation. Some investment hesitancy is clearly now seen, and I've heard from the other presentations this evening that we're not alone here, and of course we're not. So some of the things that we've done to mitigate this, that might be a question that's coming my way, I feel already. One thing I mentioned earlier: courage to act, courage to increase prices. That's actually a really important one. We have had to pass on price increases to our customers. We've done it rather well. We've focused on the profitable parts of our business. We continue to do that. Service and aftermarket, I can't mention it enough times. We continue to invest in our factories, increase efficiency, save energy in production. Solar panels, coincidentally, that we'd already ordered in the US prior to this crisis have become even more valuable now. Crisis also equals opportunities. US is a place where we've seen reindustrialization starting already. That means industrial investments. That's good for us. The final slide, Nederman, we're in a strong position. We're in a market that has potential. Clean air is vital. We've got growth. We're growing. We've got digitalization, competence. We can do the whole solutions, and we've got a clear sustainability focus and growth. We feel like we're in a very good place, and we're developing in a solid way. With that, I think I can open up for any questions.
Great, thank you. And I'll start with what you said about challenges, the component situation. How is it at the moment?
Component-wise, that situation is definitely improving, the availability of components. The biggest problem we have had has been in our monitoring and control technology division. They have some very specific components, several from China, in the monitoring systems that we're producing. You can't easily replace them with different components. It's still a challenge, but significantly better than it was 6 months ago, I would say. The transport issue, which is connected to that, is the next one on the supply chain. That has really solved itself already. So we don't see that as a major problem, even if costs are not down at 2019 levels yet.
Okay, great. And you mentioned it, like the digital products is very interesting. And you mentioned two types of subscription models. I didn't get it. What was the different types of subscription?
What we have is, if you think every filter system has a control panel on it, every filter system where you control things such as fan speed and airflow and lots of other things in the system. Typically, there's been 15 or 20 of these that have been used on the different Nederman filters. We've developed our own ones now that we are using on more and more of our filters. We use basically the same system on each and every one now. There are some exceptions, and we need to roll it out a little further. Customers can subscribe and see this information themselves of what's happening. They get alarms when things go wrong. If they're warned, and they can carry out the service themselves. The second level is that we provide the service as well. We monitor the system. We see what's happening. We call up the customer. You've got a problem here. We need to come and fix this for you. And it's sort of a second stage there. But connecting, you're not going to get rich from just having the subscription model. We really want to have the aftermarket business as well, the service part of the business too. It's a good way of tying the customer in the long term as well and getting repeat custom. We see that larger customers are the ones that go for this first. And this was always the intention that would be happening. But it's more and more smaller customers see the benefit of this. Energy cost savings, for example, is a huge thing now that they... If we can demonstrate to them that we're able to save energy for them by turning off fans that are not in use, for example, by seeing that the system sees it's not in use, turns it off, that's a really good selling point for us now.
Okay, great. And let's move on that. Like, we have high energy prices. I guess you have seen something in demand on this.
Yes, it's both a challenge in terms of production, and the production costs have gone up. But when it comes to demand, investments in energy, usually energy production requires some form of filtration as well. So we have an opportunity there. And I actually think this is going to be a beneficial thing for us in Europe in particular now. Exactly what's going to happen in terms of energy sourcing in Europe, we don't quite know yet, but it's unlikely that that's going to be a bad thing, that there's more repatriation and more energy production in Europe for us.
Yeah, but prices has also declined a lot last month, and also for the winter. I guess it's positive for your production, but have you also seen something in demand there?
No, we are the biggest driver of our demand. We can't get away from that. Is industrial investments. And the industrial investment appetite does change. We've got quite a good mix between our different divisions on where they are in the business cycle. So as some drop, others have still got a big backlog of orders to be delivered, for example. But demand is slowing. What we can say is we've seen a slowdown in the rate of growth rather than a significant drop in demand yet. We're not naive, and we know that it's going to happen. But our budgeting for next year is basically a number of different sets of scenarios rather than what I would call a budget in the traditional sense.
But how's the main scenario then?
The main scenario is that we have quite, like I mentioned, we've got quite a lot of our business is backlog related. So we're rather confident about the first part of next year. We will have a backlog of orders that we need to deliver to our customers. The uncertainty is in the second half of 2023, really. This is a slight generalization when it comes division by division, but that is the overall scenario. And no one really knows how bad that this is going to be yet. We're a little optimistic. Today was an optimistic day when you look at the stock market and these US inflation figures and such. Let's see. We maybe shouldn't read too much into one set of figures, but yeah.
Understand. And moving back to the aftermarket share, how big is that of your sales at the moment?
Right now, it's roughly 20% of our sales. What we are very clear not to do is to define a target for what percentage of our sales our aftermarket business ought to be. What we say is that the aftermarket ought to grow faster than the rest of the business on average. The reason we say that is we have very volatile, when it comes to large capital investments, and that's in process technology, you get very volatile order intake on the large projects. Suddenly, in the depths of COVID, 40% of process technologies income was coming from aftermarket. This year, it's less than 30%, but it has still grown by more than 10% this year. If you follow me in percentage terms, it's a dangerous thing. We want to grow the aftermarket business more than the rest of our business, but it will always fluctuate in relation to the total sales of our company.
Understandable. And we have some questions from the chat, like how is your sales divided geographically?
Traditionally we've been a bit more weighted in Europe, but if you take Europe, North America, Europe, Americas, and Asia, it's roughly 40-40-20 now. So 40% Europe, 40% Americas, 20% Asia. It does fluctuate a little bit, as I say, depends on large orders, for example, but that is roughly where we are today. We made an acquisition back in July of a US company in welding, which gave us a slightly better balance between Europe and North America, which is probably a positive thing in the environment right now, where US is going a bit better than Europe, all things considered.
Yeah. And we have a lot of questions also about the competitors. You said that there were mostly the small competitors. Is it so in all the markets?
Yes, there's one global competitor. It's a company called Donaldson that are US based. They're more a filter company. They sell a lot of other filters that aren't to do with industrial air filtration, but they're the ones that we come across globally. Otherwise, it is typically RoboVent that we acquired back in the US. They turn over roughly 400 million Swedish, which is less than 10% of Nederman, and they were quite a large competitor. So there's quite a few of those around the world, and if we're going to grow market share quicker, acquiring some of those is always a possibility, and there's often synergies when we do that.
But let's talk about a little bit more about your acquisition there, RoboVent. Mm-hmm. So, what do you want to achieve?
The rationale behind that is, if I take a step back, we've got a lot of different types of filters in our range already. Everything from small welding solutions that are portable ones to large foundries filters that are built into the production system. We've got enough of that technology, so it's more of a question of gaining market share in areas where we're not particularly strong. An example could be that we were number one in welding in Europe and have been for a long time. In US, we've struggled to make inroads. We've grown very slightly organically. RoboVent came up for sale, and it was a no-brainer that we would take them. They are number three in the US market. Combined with now, we're number one in welding in the US as well as Europe. So it's more those sort of moves. Where we would like some more technology and where we've got some gaps today is on the monitoring and control technology side. These measurement technology, maybe some automatic reporting programs and things that we can connect to the monitoring solutions that we have there.
Yeah, interesting. Because it's time for the last question, and it's like, where do you see Nederman in like 5 years or so?
5 years from now, we aim to continue to grow significantly. 5 years from now, we would like to be double the size we are today, I would say. And where is that going to growth going to come from? More likely from the digital side of the business, monitoring and control of the solutions, but also from growing aftermarket and repetitive income, reducing our reliance on the capital investment side.
Well, I wish you the very best luck with that, and thank you for tonight.
Thank you very much.